All right, well, welcome back, everybody. And as you can see by the title, this is not a clickbait video, but I am not gonna modify my piece of equipment. I'm not messing with hydraulics, I'm not messing with the engine, nothing. I don't want to take away the reliability of this machine. Now, you're probably looking at this big hunk of wood here going, what the heck has this dude got going on? I have been experimenting and playing the last couple of days off camera, and I have found out how to speed up my cycle time by several seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I'll explain later, it is a lot, especially with as much splitting as I've been doing here lately. Now, the time I've spent experimenting, I've determined this quite, isn't what I'm looking for. I'm gonna build a new piece today and show y'all, but I wanted to start this video out with this block of wood right here to show y'all that you can actually run the machine this way, because it's really be, easy to do at home. Say if you just have a drill and a block of wood. I want to do something on metal that you may not have that's going to require, just a tiny little bit more fabrication. But like I said, the block of wood does work, but I'll explain why I'm not going to use this. All right, so why does this work, but why am I not going to use it? It's because between the edge of the splitting maul and the bottom of the plate is about 16¼ to 16½ inches. So that's as large of a piece of wood as you can put in here. I've been cutting mine 16 or less here lately, so this does work, but I'm finding if I don't throw the wood in perfectly, it can get wedged up here. And there's always that occasional piece that's a little longer than 16 inches. Now, I'm about to explain what we're manipulating or tricking here and how this is speeding up the time. Let me get this block of wood off. All right, so a common problem that I'm having with this splitter is whenever, say, I split a piece of wood and then I go to the rack or to the IBC tote to put my wood in, this has an automatic return feature. But a lot of times I am noticing that I'm technically outrunning the splitter. And what I mean is, by the time I get to the wood pile and come back, this thing is already done retracted, kicked completely out, and it's several seconds away from getting back to the piece of wood. I would like for it to stop shorter and be waiting on me instead of me waiting on it to come back to where I'm splitting that. Now, this will not apply to anybody that's splitting large pieces of wood. For example, from here to here at the catches, the largest piece of wood you can split on this splitter is about 25½ inches. So if you're splitting big buller wood, there's no need to want to shorten up the stroke or the cycle time because you're already splitting big wood. But I'd venture to say the majority of people are splitting 16 to 18 inches, 16 being the most common size wood. That's where this is really going to speed up your time if you're out doing a lot of production. If not, this may not apply to you at all. And I will say, this is a disclaimer. If you're going to modify this machine the way I'm showing you, you're actually going from 2 pinch points right here, if your hands were to get caught on the way the machine normally comes, to a single pinch point right here. So, is that any better? Is it any worse? I don't know, but you are moving the position of the pinch point. So if you modify this, modify at your own risk. I'm just showing you what I've done. All right, so again, what I'm trying to accomplish is I want to shorten the stroke up. And I was out there the other day, running it back and forth, and I've noticed something kicks out the auto return. And it looks like it's just whenever the cylinder actually bottoms out on the inside. There's a little bit of pressure that kicks the hydraulics out and kicks the little notch or indentation out on the handle. So I was like, dang, I wonder if there's something I could put up here to save all that extra several inches of retracting in and coming back out that it has to do. Turns out you can. Let me fire this up, let it warm up for a minute, and I'll show you with that same block of wood. All right, so as you can see, a block of wood will absolutely kick out the auto return. All it's doing is looking for a pressure spike increase. It's just enough to override whatever that indentation is that's holding it in. So there are some concerns there. Now you're putting pressure on these instead of it bottoming out in the cylinder. However, these are specifically designed to catch a piece of wood that this may be wedged into, so they're designed to take some sort of pressure. I've been watching it. I don't see any crazy bending or anything going on, but that's something to watch with your rails or these pieces, since it's going to bottom out here instead of in the cylinder. But as you just seen, over almost 2.5 seconds saved per cycle, per stroke, if you let this bottom out by putting a piece of wood right there. Now it's going to be slightly less than that because I'm about to put a 2x2 piece of steel to open up my opening down here a little larger so I can fit bigger pieces of wood. But I wanted to show y'all that in case you want to use a piece of wood. Actually, a landscape timber I think would be perfect. It'd shave another 3/4 of an inch probably in width off from that 4x4. And that would allow you to get up to a 17-inch piece of wood in. So if you cut yours somewhere around 16 plus, landscape timber may work. I don't know that a 2x4 would work here because there's enough pressure when this comes back, it may split the 2x4, but that is always an option to try. So I'm going to bolt this piece of metal up here. I'm going to go down and run it with and without it and show you that 2.5 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is. Now, this does not increase my time. When I'm up here running this, splitting a piece of wood, rolling a piece over, running back and forth, it's not really going to help me out there. Where it's helping me out is splitting, walking away for a minute, stacking a couple pieces, and this son of a gun is done running all the way back to here and bottomed out. So by the time I come back, instead of it waiting on me right here, ready to get into another piece of wood, speeding up my production, I have an additional 2.5 seconds to wait. Now, if you'll watch one of my videos and look at how many times I go back and forth to a wood rack or an IBC tote, 2.5 seconds does add up. Now, imagine an entire day of splitting. There's literally hundreds of trips that I make back and forth to a wood rack or IBC tote stacking. Hundreds of trips times 2.5 seconds. It doesn't take long before, hey, I can get an additional rack in a day or an additional IBC tote before long. So it really does add up. Then let's look at that over multiple days. The other thing I've noticed that this makes me do since I've been running this off camera like this, it makes me speed up personally. Knowing that this thing is right here just ready to split. I mean, I'm reaching for wood quicker. Some people may say that's dangerous, I'm rushing, but it just overall feels like it speeds up production dramatically to me. This may not be for you. You may think it's the dumbest idea ever. That's fine. But whenever I show you how it runs in a minute, you may change your mind. You may not. Let's get the piece of metal on. Now I'm using some 3-inch long, 1/4-inch diameter bolts. All right, I don't see anything bending, buckling. The only thing that I'm going to have to keep an eye on, because I'm putting pressure up here now, it's causing a slight little bit of pivot right here. Could that wear out the connection between the bolt and shaft? I don't know. I'll use this several times to watch it, and if it looks like it is putting extra strain or inducing extra wear on it, I'll pull this off and it is what it is. But I don't see anything in the rails bending. I don't see this bending. I don't see nothing binding real bad. So let's carry it down to the wood rack and try it out. All right, so I'm going to run it without the piece of metal for the first little bit and kind of show you. Again, you're not going to see an improvement when I'm just splitting and rolling pieces off the side. Where you're going to see the improvement is whenever I have to grab some of those pieces, start stacking, every time I come back, it's all the way back up here and I've lost about 2.5 seconds. No, I'm not set up properly for this rack. I was planning on putting all this in IBC totes, but I'm just down here to demonstrate this to you. So you're going to be seeing me be pretty inefficient walking back and forth and grabbing wood. All right, so as you could see, every single time I went to the wood rack, this thing is run back, and now I'm waiting on it to come back forward. So we're gonna put the bar in, and I'll show you the difference that it'll make. It'll have it to where this is pretty much always waiting on me, and again, I'm not waiting on it, which is the way I want it to be. All right, hopefully you can see how much quicker that was. Now imagine that over a period of hours and hours splitting. It makes a difference. Again, if you're just coming down here to split for an hour or so for a little bit of wood for your house, this probably isn't worth doing. But I'm going to be splitting days and days, weeks and weeks on through the next several months. It'll make a difference. Now, one issue I can already see, I should have known. I went with the thinnest wall tubing pipe that I had. It's starting to crush it a little. So I've got some thick wall 2x2 tubing up there. I'm actually going to go back and use that. And what's funny is the 4x4 that I had in here that I've used the last couple of days didn't hardly crush in at all. That just shows how weak this real thin wall tubing is. So that's the only upgrade I can see. I've got plenty of that up there. I'll just cut another piece, bolt it in just like you see right here, and just do something a little thicker that won't crush on me. One thing I did want to check, if you want to see the length of opening with a 2x2 piece of tubing, let me back this up and get you a quick measurement. All right, so with 2x2 steel tubing, it looks like you can get a 17 3/4 inch piece of wood in there. That shouldn't be a problem for me. Since I've started measuring mine out 16 inches now, a lot of mine are actually like 15 3/4, 15 1/2. Then you have the occasional 16 1/4 or maybe 16 1/2. So that still leaves me plenty of room to kind of drop a piece in there, but keep the wedge close enough to kind of pick up that speed and cycle time that I was looking for. So hopefully you enjoyed this. You may find it stupid and not worth your while. That's okay. Some of y'all may be like, man, that's just what I needed, because these residential splitters can be kind of slow. Although I'll admit, I have watched this one compared to a lot of other residential splitters. This one's one of the faster ones, believe it or not. Now, it's a whole different ball game once you get up in the commercial splitters. They can fly through, like the Easton Made Ultra I'm thinking of, for example. I think it's got like a 4-second cycle time. It's just crazy fast. Or those kinetic log splitters, man, they're just dangerously fast. It looks like it take your hand off. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give a little thumbs up down there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And while I have this down here, I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this rack of cherry. By far my favorite wood, and this will probably be my personal rack for next year. We'll catch you on the next video. I know I said goodbye a minute ago, but if you stuck around, you're getting some bonus footage. So hopefully you just seen me run through that. I went back and got a much thicker piece of steel. This is 1/4 inch wall, 2-inch square tube. I mean, it's just, this is probably gonna break before it ever bend it. It's been kicking out, working great. I've been keeping a real good eye on everything. I don't see nothing bending or getting out of shape. But I will caution y'all, if you're gonna do this, why don't you let me be the guinea pig for a while? I'd hate for you to tear up your piece of equipment on a modification that hasn't really been tested more than 2 days. But I'm gonna keep a real close eye on everything. Like I said, the quickest part I could see wearing out is maybe the bolt that goes through from the cylinder. I'll really watch that. And if I start seeing anything wearing out that I don't like, this piece is coming off. So if you see me right there at the end, even though it was running 100 miles an hour, toward the end of my rack, I always love splitting small pieces and wedging them in here, because even though I have these racks on landscape timbers, sometimes the wind will blow them or they can shift, and I've actually had them fall down before. So I have found when I wedge a thin piece of wood like that in between these top supports, this rack ain't going nowhere. It really kind of keeps it from going back or forth. One other thing I want to show y'all. Chris at In the Wood Yard showed this off the other day, and really good point. I've seen this before. So I'm splitting this piece of wood right here, and I'm noticing that's some funky looking colors right there, right? I already kind of have a good idea what this is after years of cutting. When you start seeing that discoloration right there, that means you have a piece of metal in your tree. When you see that with a chainsaw, you need to really pay attention. A lot of these trees I cut around here are on fence lines, and I hate it, but a lot of people back in the day, and some people still, used to nail staples and fence right into these trees. However, today was a little different. Once I split this open and I started kind of looking right there, I knew something wasn't right immediately. Last thing I want to do is go pushing through a big old stake or something, or a bolt, and bend my wedge all up. You know, it's already got some small chips in it, but I didn't really want to mess it up. This isn't made for cutting through metal. Well, here's the other half of that. This stuff's hard to see sometimes. So the other half, yeah, it's got some crazy discoloration too. That's exactly what metal does. I noticed right in there it looked like something. Then I made it to the outside. Didn't even see that. That's a thick piece of metal that probably would have damaged my splitter or took a big chunk out of the old splitting head there if it had actually come down in it. So pay attention to discoloration when you see it, because that usually means there's some metal hiding somewhere. Now, a lot of times it's just old fence wire that's usually rusted away at that point, or that you can hardly see, and it's harmless. But every now and then you'll see gigantic stakes, bolts, fence and nails and staples. That's pretty common too. So I'm liking my little modification. Keep in mind, new pinch point up top, but you kind of limited two other pinch points, so you give and take there. I'll watch and see how it treats my splitter. The last thing I want to do is wear something out prematurely or tear it up, and I will absolutely let y'all know on the channel in case you decide that you want to do this little speed up modification right here. But overall, I can tell it's pushing me to split faster, and it is splitting faster, no doubt about that. And very, very simple to do. So hopefully you enjoyed things like that. As I come up with things on the channel, I'll definitely let you know about it. I'm all about production here lately. This firewood's kind of went from an enjoyable hobby that I've done for many, many years to now going to try to make a little bit of money at it. And since I've crunched some numbers, kind of know where I'm at. Anytime I can speed up, that's more money in my pocket. So this little thing right here is just one of the many things I'll do to kind of help increase my bottom line. I live in the middle of nowhere, and it seems like every time I record and talk, loud trucks or semis, they just come out of nowhere. I don't hear them all day. But anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help get the channel exposure through YouTube. Catch you on the next one.